All right, folks, welcome back to yet another episode of Fresh Juice, an indie game podcast. I am one of your hosts, Tommy Fresh, and joined as always, it is
Matty Juice. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show, Tom. It's good to be back.
It really is. It really is, and we got a fun one for you all today. We're going to be talking about a relaxing game for once. It's called Preserve. I'm excited to talk about it. I don't even really know how you would describe it other than it's kind of like a puzzle board game, relaxing sim in a way. I don't know. Well, I can't wait to talk about it because this game was very interesting. But we do have a great show for you all this week. Bunch to talk about, some cool rec rooms, some good listener questions. But first, what's going on? What's new with you, my friend?
Let's see. What have I been up to? So over the weekend, went to a baptism. That's always fun, you know. Not really, you know, it was fine. But that was fine. Little party afterwards. Had some delicious Greek food there, which was great. And then just kind of hung out Saturday night. Sunday, wanted to watch the closing ceremony of the Olympics, and the beginning was cool. Like, I'm not really like a big Olympic guy. I think I mentioned that last episode, but the beginning of it was very cool. They basically, I guess, a lot of venues nowadays, right? They're giving people like the wristbands that light up so they can like programmatically kind of do cool stuff in the crowd. And show like all these different lights. So that was really cool. They basically went through like the history of the Olympics. So like in the crowd, you could see like gladiators or all that stuff, like people on chariots, whatever it is. I don't know.
Pretty
All
sweet.
that kind of stuff. That was very cool. But then it just kind of hit a point for Maria and myself where it was just kind of like it was being drawn out. They were like doing like opera and stuff, and like I get it, you know, the French culture, like it's very cool and all that, but it just kind of we just turned it off and started watching some other stuff. So that was fine. But yeah, just kind of chilled on Sunday, had some barbecue, which was good, some ribs, and just kind of relaxed overall. You know, nothing too crazy this weekend.
That's good. I did not watch the closing ceremony. We did watch some Olympic events here and there, you know, some women's basketball, some weightlifting. That was kind of cool. I did see that Phoenix, one of my favorite bands, did perform at the closing ceremony. They're French, so that makes sense.
Oh, cool.
They're awesome. I love them. One of the best live shows I've ever seen, Phoenix. If you could believe it. You should check them out, folks. Wolfgang Amadeus Phoenix is such an amazing album. I can't recommend it enough. Anyway, my week was, last week I was like pretty sick. I had like some kind of sinus thing where like my head just was pounding all week, which sucked because I recorded like a lot of content last week. And I mean, I hope people couldn't tell. Like, I had like a pretty big episode of Fresh and Buds last week, and I was not feeling it the whole time. And I also was doing a bunch of commentary for another channel where, you know, actually probably worked to the benefit of the commentary because I was just kind of yucking and jiving a little bit. Just like, man, that card, don't know what that one does. I can't read it, you know. It was a good time, though. Kind of starting to feel better, you know, yesterday and today, which is good. But I also did go to a Fast and Furious themed Flesh and Blood tournament in a backyard at some buds. It was very, very cool. Fab and Furious, I should say. That was neat. I made some posters for them, or I designed some, you know, because there's a character in Flesh and Blood called Vincent, so it was Vin Set. And then there's also a character called Zen, and we did Zen Diesel, which was pretty cool. Posted about that.
Forget about it,
Yeah, forget about it. I wish there was like more Paul Walker isms to kind of mix in there, but I don't think any of it really made any sense that we could think of. But I posted pictures of that on my Twitter. If anybody's interested, it was very cool. I recommend doing cool stuff like that with games you love. It was a good time. But Sunday just kind of hung out, checked out a new record store in a town near us. Found this like rare Lord of the Rings record from
Really?
1972 where it's just a guy who was doing experimental like electric organ music like inspired by Lord of the Rings with the
Oh,
wildest album cover. Like you're like, who are these characters? Like these characters are not from Lord of the Rings. Like there's a guy going like this and like blowing like demons out of his mouth. It's just it's a little crazy, but you put it on, it's pretty cool. It's very much like the Doors, right, without any singing.
mhm.
So if you like that, it was cool, but it was a cool find, so I had to buy it. It was like $10 too, so that's pretty sweet.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, now I've been playing a lot of the game that we're gonna review, and then another game that I'm gonna recommend at the end. So stick around for the end. I recommend a game,
Cool.
and
Hey,
what?
also, just speaking of the Olympics, did
Go
you
ahead.
happen to catch the Australian breakdancer by any
I
chance?
sure did. I sure
Okay.
did. I also heard that there will not be breakdancing at the next Summer Olympics.
Yes, shocker there. For those who haven't seen that, that's an early rec room here. Go look, pause the episode, go look up the Australian breakdancer, watch a minute clip of it, come back, and you'll know why we're laughing.
Yes, it was that one. There's a lot of funny stuff that comes out of the Olympics every year. That one was just hard to watch
Yeah,
for me. I will say, I was like, this is a bit too much. But you should definitely witness it. Now we do have news, huge news,
really.
big
What could it be?
news, big news. We have a Discord, guys.
Oh,
My God, check it out. It's in the show notes below. You can join the Discord. You can join in, chat about games. I'm chatting about a bunch of demos I'm playing, some other games I'm playing, as well as, a really great chance for you to submit listener questions that we answer on the podcast every week. That's so cool. Check out the Discord. It is in the show notes below or to the side, wherever your show notes reside these days. What else is new? What is in the news this week, Matthew?
yeah. So, some pretty large news that I saw the other day that kind of shocked me. And we actually kind of covered this on a previous episode. I don't even remember exactly when, but for those who remember, Tango Gameworks, who were the developers for Hi-Fi Rush, a pretty popular indie game that was, that studio was previously owned by Xbox. Xbox went and shut that studio down, which was a big shock to a lot of people because of the success of Hi-Fi Rush. So now the news is that Hi-Fi Rush's IP and Tango Gameworks have been acquired by Krafton from Xbox, and the studio will no longer be shut down. So they've been pulled out of the grave and now they're back in it. And a lot of people are very excited about this. Now, the interesting thing, too, is that this publisher is the publisher for PUBG. So it's kind of very interesting because they're obviously two completely kind of different games. But PUBG has been a game that I'm surprised is still around, to be honest. They've got a core community over there. So hopefully this is, going to be kind of a long-term plan for Tango and the Hi-Fi Rush team. But it's, yeah, just pretty cool. It's honestly, I think a lot of people were thinking that this is a bad move by Xbox, right? Especially like seeing like the record profits that they had. So it's good to see that the industry itself sees the value in Hi-Fi Rush and Tango. So yeah, just a kind of a feel good story there.
Yeah, that is a feel good story. I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
That is no, that's awesome to hear. And funny that you say PUBG. You can't believe the PUBG's still around. I mean, to be fair, right? I don't know if this is an accurate comparison, but PUBG is Dota 2 to Fortnite is League of Legends. Maybe I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but like,
Yeah, I can get the correlations there a bit,
yeah,
a bit, it's there.
I think maybe some Dota 2 players might send hate mail my way for saying that. I'm not sure, but I just feel like PUBG is kind of for the old school, the old heads, or like the more hardcore gamers. Although, you can argue that Fortnite is a little bit more hardcore, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't play a lot of Fortnite. I barely played a lot of PUBG, but I'm just putting that out into the universe a little bit, getting a little
Yeah.
spicy. But yeah, this is awesome to see. And I'm sure we're going to see some more of this as like some surprising shutdowns happen. Whenever that happens, somebody notices, right? They say, this is too good to be shut down. This cannot end. We have the resources to kind of use them to help us, and we help them, and then we become a stronger company because of it. And I'm glad to see that something like this is happening.
Yeah.
You hope that they don't lose a lot of identity in the process, but it's better than being completely defunct. So very, very cool.
Yeah.
Feel good
It also
story.
makes me kind of wonder, like, did Microsoft or Xbox like not shop them around at all before they decided to shut them down, right? And I'm also kind of hoping, another studio that was kind of closed down was Galvanic Games for Wizard with a Gun, which was,
True.
even though we didn't give us the highest scores here, it was a pretty well regarded game overall, rating wise. So I think it would be really cool if this also happened with them, so that it's such a I feel like that was such a strong game to be like a franchise with Wizard with a Gun, like everything around like the way it looks and just their marketing overall and the game itself. So it would be cool if that also happened with them. But yeah, anyway, just surprising to me that I guess it seems like Microsoft didn't like shop around Tango at all. I guess I'm assuming if they got picked up kind of this sort of quickly, right? We just reported a few episodes ago. It felt like
Mm-hmm.
within the last 10 episodes, I would say that they were getting shut down. So yeah, pretty wild.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like, I feel like that Xbox, I can't really speak for their actions, but maybe they're like, well, we know this is a good thing. We don't want any competition to have it. We'll just shut it down, cut our losses, right? It's probably net positive for us to do that, which sounds awful. But,
Yeah,
and then kind of it sucks even more now that somebody resurrected it and they didn't even get the money for it or whatever. I don't know if there could have been money to be had. So very, very interesting, but
yeah,
very cool. But other than that, it was a pretty slow news week. Um, you know, I guess in the game
yeah.
world. I mean, I haven't heard much. Well, actually, you know what? There is some news. Balatro, a game beloved by many, including us. They announced they're going to have a big, major free content update in 2025. We're a little ways away, but I think we're getting two more announcements this month. Obviously, at this point, we haven't heard the other two announcements. Likely, one of them is going to be mobile release. I have to imagine. And then who knows? Maybe do they have mod support currently? I don't think so.
I don't believe so, but that would be really cool if they
Yeah.
did add that. Yeah, I think that'd be great for. I mean, even if it was just like a visual kind of mods that you could apply and it
Yeah.
wasn't anything like mechanic wise, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they do, but you know, the game that I'm going to recommend later has mod support as of recently, and it's kind of given it a second life, it seems like. I mean, it already had a pretty strong life cycle, but it's kind of giving a reinvigorating life cycle to the game, which is kind of cool. So
Yeah.
wondering if Boucher is going to do that. Also, the release of the blackjack Balatro, which technically was had a playable demo before Balatro was even ever playable.
Yeah.
So it's that's getting really good reviews. Unfortunately, we're not reviewing it. We might review it down the road. That game does look pretty sweet. I'll probably be playing it at some point, but
Yeah. Also, just some other, you just made me think of like some other smaller news as well. I know we've talked about Retro Bowl on the show a
mm-hmm.
bit of being one of our favorite mobile games. So they recently announced that next month, NFL Retro Bowl 25 is coming exclusively to Apple Arcade. So it's basically Retro Bowl, but you can actually play as the NFL teams
Oh,
in
that's
Retro
cool.
Bowl, which is pretty sweet. Unfortunately, I'm an Android user, so hopefully eventually they have an Android release, but still very cool coming exclusively to Apple Arcade, and it says it has superstars on every team and hundreds of real NFL players to choose from. So
That's pretty
pretty
awesome.
sweet. Yeah, I think that's kind of like what it's a logical next step for Retro Bowl is to actually get those players in there and those teams. So pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm sure that the big hurdle is actually teaming up with the NFL, and then also, um, uh, I guess what's the Players Association or something like that. You have to kind of
Yeah.
get their approval for some stuff. But very, very cool. I love that game, and I have Apple Arcade, so there's a good
Oh,
chance. There's a good chance I'll be downloading that thing. So we'll see. But let's get to Preserve though. Let's talk about this game, right?
let's do it.
Preserve, preserve, preserve. Preserve is a relaxing puzzle nature building game in which you flourish a vibrant ecosystem by cleverly placing plants and animals to create perfect symbiosis to your liking. This is developed by Bitmap Galaxy and published by Grindstone. It's on Steam only right now, and it is $12.49. Great price tag. 20% off until 8/22. So you got a whole week to buy this at 20% off, which I think is like $9.99. And if you think that we give it a good enough rating, of course. And we were provided keys here, worth noting, but that never changes how honest we are with what we think about these games. So gameplay. Let's hop right into the gameplay. Matt, I want to hear your thoughts first.
Yeah, so I kind of had like almost two different experiences with this gameplay because I played with a controller first. I was kind of, I knew this was going to be kind of a cozy, chill, sort of relaxing game. So I sat on the couch, played a little bit, used the controller, and then another day I hopped in and I used mouse and keyboard. Gotta say, mouse and keyboard is a heck of a lot easier to play this game with. But I think the there's just a more of a learning curve with the controller, and eventually I was kind of getting it, but still it was a little odd. So those are kind of like two experiences I had at the surface level for the game. But the gameplay itself is cool. So you start out with kind of like the forest biome, I guess you could say, and you kind of have these hexagon tiles that each allow you to place these cards on them, and the cards can be everything from a rain card that will actually turn that hexagon tile into grass from like being kind of this dirt or kind of this like non-textured material, and then you also have other cards for kind of the landscape, right? Where you can place down rivers or trees or fields of different things, flowers it's not wheat, but whatever it is, brush, whatever it is there, and then the last piece is kind of placing down the animals as well. So each thing that you're placing down is giving you a different amount of points. There's a classic mode if you're watching on the YouTube stream right here, or the YouTube video, not stream. There's a classic mode, which is the one that I went through, where you're trying to complete like certain objectives, and then there's like a puzzle mode, which I didn't really dabble in too much. I'm not sure if you did, Tom, but we can talk about that. If you did end up playing it. But yeah, it's very interesting where you're kind of starting out with these hexagon tiles that are kind of part of a larger sort of hexagon. And then the more that you actually build, the bigger that you can kind of make this world. So you get access to like other kind of hexagon tiles that allow you to expand the world. You can strategically rotate them and place them down so that the altitude of the different hexagons kind of matches depending on what you want to place. And then based on what you're actually placing down is what's going to determine what animals can actually live there. So there's kind of different rules, and they have a really handy kind of scorecard as well that kind of helps you understand the rules a bit. So like placing down 3 tiles, I think at least is what you need to do of the same type. So if you had, let's say, some flowers you wanted to place down, you would have to place 3 of those down, and then that would be suitable enough for like bees to live in. So then you would play the bees card and they would go ahead and live there. Actually, it's exactly what they're doing on the video right now, so it's kind of perfect. So it's kind of all these kind of conditional things that you need to keep in mind. But as you keep expanding these hexagons and expanding your map, it gets a little bit more complicated because you're getting certain creatures that can live in multiple sort of areas, and then you're also needing to make sure that you're placing all of your cards down kind of next to each other. Like you kind of don't want these kind of different biomes to be too separated from each other, because then you're not going to get bonuses for them being next to each other. So it's actually pretty in depth, like the gameplay. You start out in this kind of forest biome, so you have a limited amount of cards. Then you move over to the savannah, where you're starting to get a little bit more of different mechanics. You start getting like rivers and ponds that you can sort of place down, and then different types of animals as well. And then you move into like the marine biome, which is the last one that I experienced. There is another one after that. I just didn't get to it quite yet. Because the marine biome has some even more interesting mechanics as well, where you can kind of change like the altitude of the hexagons, and it gets a lot more in depth than you would originally think. So it is a relaxing game. To kind of wrap this up in a nutshell, I did find it pretty relaxing, and you're not being timed or anything like that. You can take your time and think about things, but it's also a game where it can sometimes be like overwhelming. As you're kind of trying to get enough points to get into the next level, you have to be like, okay, like these are the cards I have left. Like, where can I strategically place these? And it actually got to a point for me with the Savannah level where they have a certain card that allows you to basically refund things that you've placed down. You have a limited amount you can refund. I had to actually use that a few times because I realized I placed things down in the wrong spot, or at least it wasn't the optimal spot. So, yeah, but overall, I mean, I was really pleased with the gameplay. At the surface level, it seems like it's going to be a pretty simple game, but it actually has a good amount of depth to it. And Maria also loved it as well. I mean, she's a big, nature fan, and like having symbiosis with nature and all that sort of stuff. And this game is all about that. So if the gameplay itself is like, if you're into that sort of stuff, it's just really cool, to kind of have these creatures like that you're building an environment for. So yeah, I enjoyed the gameplay overall. But what about you, Tom? How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, this was once I hopped in, right, and started to get what was going on, right? The point system and what you're trying to do. You're trying to get X amount of points to basically hit these goals on each kind of biome, right? You start off, like, I played mostly the classic mode, right? So you start off, you can choose the small classic mode of a certain kind of biome. So let's say I just did like the woodland or whatever it was called. Small, you have smaller points kind of goals, 3 of them, 400, 800, 1200. And then once I think you beat the first goal of that, basically it's pretty easy to get the first goal, right? Because you're kind of just playing the game and not really thinking about things, 2 steps ahead as much, right? You just hit the goal. And then once you do that, you can go to the medium size, which is going to give you a bigger amount of giant hexes that you can place down, these big hexploration things.
Oh,
Hey, anyway, folks. But you do that, and then you can go to the large one, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They each have 3 goals. You play the first. So let's just look at the small one, right? You play the first small one. 400's the goal. Pretty easy to hit if you just kind of go by the generic rules of the game. Like, okay, I'm going to just play a bunch of flowers, and I'm going to unlock all the slots in those flowers for animals, and then I'll place 3 bees. I'll get a 3 of a kind, right? 3 of a kind gets you extra points when the animals are placed. And then, you go through, and then you hit 400, and you maybe even get past that, but you don't get to 800, and you're like, okay. And you'll get like a little flag that says, "Oh, I'm done." If you want to finish, you can just click the flag, and then it'll take you out. It's like, "Oh, congratulations, you did this," right? You hit the first goal, and you're like, "All right, so I didn't hit the second goal. How do I hit the second goal?" And then you go in, you're like, "I have to think about where I'm placing all these things, right?" And then I have to kind of plan out my environment and how even I'm placing the giant hex exploration modules that you throw onto the side of the things that you unlock, because you want to keep like mountains near each other, because certain things can only be placed in rocky mountain areas. So it is very cool, because my favorite mechanic in the game is So like you mentioned that the animals all can be placed in one of two different biomes or whatever, different regions like
Hmm.
forest, mountains, plains, whatever. And I mentioned that you get a three of a kind, you get extra points, but you get even more points if you do one of each or three different animals in a biome, right?
Yeah.
You don't get extra points if it's two of one and then one of another. You have to do either all three for some extra points or one, two, three different ones for way extra points. So then you're like planning out. I'm like, okay, I'm going to only place a bee here for now. And then I'm going to hopefully unlock some other things can be placed in the flowers later. So then,
Yeah.
because once you get to certain, in the bottom left corner, you'll have point goals, right? If you're watching on the YouTube, there's a little diamond, and basically gives you a little fraction of how many points you are close to the next goal. So that one says 527 out of 560. Once you hit 560 on the points, you get more cards to place, right? You don't know what you're going to get, but you're hoping that it's going to be the cards that you need to start, doing all the synergies to get more points to get to the highest goals that you can get. So once I played my first round, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then got back into it and realized how much strategic depth there is here. I was like, this is so cool. And I'm not stressed out because
Yeah.
I'm just placing plants and animals. and and that's it. And then like, oh, I have a river. I want to make this river the best river it could be because like bodies of water, rivers, ponds, they give extra points to the things that are next to it. But they also take up tiles as well because you can't place anything on a river. So basically what I'm saying is this game is really deep, really, really cool. I love just even the tactile things going on in this, placing the cards felt really fun. Just kind of even moving around the map, you can adjust the map. And then even when you're done, you can take pictures of your map because we'll get to the art. It looks great. You can take pictures, it uploads straight to your computer, and you can change all the different things like you would on your phone camera or whatever. You can even change what time of day it is when you're taking these pictures. And you can also change where the sun is. Like, how is the sun hitting this little biome that you created? So the
Yeah.
gameplay, super relaxing, but also super deep and really impressive, to be honest, that it was packaged in this game. So
Yeah.
that were my thoughts on the gameplay. It's very cool. We can move on to the story, though. Not much story. You're kind of creating the story of kind of growing this world, right?
Being God.
Basically you're playing God here. You're growing a world. You're placing Earth, and you're placing animals, and you're growing stuff, and it's a puzzle game, right? At the end of the day, it's a strategic puzzle game. There's not going to be a ton of story here. I don't think you necessarily need it. I don't. To be honest, this is a game where I can't even really think of how you would put story into it. I mean, maybe if you start adding like humans and stuff like that, maybe you can kind of make it like Civ or whatever. But I didn't feel like I needed any story here.
Yeah, agreed. I also think, because I was thinking about that as well, like adding humans, But I also think if you end up doing that, you add kind of like a negative, right? Like an
Mm-hmm.
antagonist. It doesn't become a relaxing game anymore, a cozy game. It becomes like something that's more about, winning rather than, I guess, just kind of relaxing and just building some biomes.
Yeah.
So yeah, wasn't really looking for a story here either. But yeah, it is really cool to be able to like just like zoom in to the map and see all the creatures that you've placed down, like interacting with things. And also, I don't know if we mentioned like this game is in early access still.
Oh yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
there's still plenty, that they're going to be updating with the game, probably adding more creatures, biomes, cards, all that sort of stuff. So still, yeah, you're just really impressive. But as far as like no story, totally cool with me. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. There's some semblances of. I mean, from what I played, there's some semblances of like civilization, right? If you place a river X amount of tiles long, You get like a mill that you can place on the river. It'll give you extra
Mhm.
points. Obviously, that's a man-made structure, but I haven't seen much
Well,
more
we
than
don't
that.
know for
That's
sure.
true. It's true.
You know, we don't know.
Those
Giraffes are
beavers.
crafty.
um, but yeah, very cool. Now, tell us about your thoughts on the art, because this is, a beautiful game.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely is. I mean, it fits even if you're not looking at the game. If you can just picture a cozy kind of farm sim, almost like you'll know exactly kind of what this game looks like. Everything from the way the tiles look, even before you actually place anything down, like they still look like great. You know, it's kind of this cartoony, simple style.
Mhm.
And then yeah, placing down all the different animals with all the different biomes, like they do such a good job of like contrasting each other. There was never a point when I was playing this game where I was like, like things were blending in too much or anything like that. But then at the same time, when you actually finish kind of a level, everything seems like it kind of flows together, which is really cool. Like they did such a great job of, and this is also tying into the gameplay as well, but a hexagonal grid, making that something so rigid as that feel like very organic and fluid by the time you're done building it. I just thought like overall, they did a great job with that from the art standpoint of making things kind of blend in. And then even when you're placing down, you place down two tiles of the same type next to each other, they just look like two separate tiles. But then you place down a third tile where you get those three in a row there, and then it becomes kind of like a habitat. It kind of changes what the way the art looks for those specific tiles. I thought that was really cool that they did that. Even when you're expanding the map, and you kind of like are figuring out where you want to place these additional hexagon tiles, um, after you place them, they kind of have this very satisfying like drop. And we'll talk about the sound as well because there's some sound stuff with that I like as well. But they just kind of like fall into place almost next to the tiles that you've already been working on. So really enjoyed that. Even the kind of the UI, the cards, everything is really clear of what exactly it does. The one thing that I do wish that it had, and this kind of ties into the gameplay, is and this might just be from my experience with like a game like Hearthstone, but I love actually dragging the cards onto the board. And this one, at least from what I tested, like you have to click on the card and then you click on the board to place it. So it's one of those sort of games. I think, I know it's early access, but it would be super cool if like you picked up like an elephant card and you just saw as you were dragging it up, like it turned into an elephant and then you got to place that down. So a little artistic stuff there as far as placing the cards could be really cool. And I hope they end up doing that. And you can even see in the video right here what I was talking about, like placing down the actual like additional tiles for your world. It's very satisfying. And they kind of have this like little jump, little like wave that they do as you place them. So yeah, the visuals super strong in the game. Really enjoyed the visuals overall. Excited to see how they develop. I'm curious to know like what things do they consider are still in progress versus what's closer to being finished. But for me, for early access, like this is doing a great job visually.
Yeah, this was kind of stunning, right? There's just so much beauty in just like nature in general, right? And then you kind of get to see it in this like weird puzzle form where we see different puzzle games, all the time, where they might be, cutesy or whatever. And this has some cutesy elements, but it really kind of is focused on the natural beauty, which I was like a huge fan of, right? Even in the cards, right? It's an illustrated version of these things. It almost feels like I've opened up an old boy's life magazine from when I was waiting at a doctor's office or something like that. And for those of you who don't know what boy's life was,
Yeah,
it was
maybe explain that for the
it
listeners.
was like a weird like kind of Boy Scouty magazine, I think.
Yeah,
I
all the
don't know.
priests had it. Yeah, it was all the churches were on
Well,
subscription
listen, I
for it.
mean, I was a good altar boy. But it jeez, jeez Louise. But it does have this kind of natural look, like a scientific illustration, which is very cool. And then you get to place it and you see how cool it looks. And then, I played a lot of it like very in the sky, top down, because it was just easier for me to kind of like look, kind of be strategic and think about where I'm placing stuff. But like every once in a while, I would just zoom in and be like, this looks so good. Right. And like that's, I don't know. It was just so impressive. And I really liked that. And it's something that I'm excited to see where it goes because, this would be great on mobile, and talk about moving a card, right? Like
Yeah.
that would be a perfect time with a touchscreen. And, I'm excited to see what else they can add to the game because there's like infinite, you know, ecosystems in the world, right? I was like, I see a swampy version of stuff or whatever. The desert would be cool to see, like, place like desert foxes, snakes, and stuff like that. That'd be really neat. So, super, super excited to see where it goes from here. It's already great, right? It just looks good. Even the menus look awesome. They do this kind of like slideshowy thing where it almost feels like what would you call them, curtains, like on a stage, but it's
Yeah.
like kind of like a wispy sky, like light blue with some clouds, and it kind of comes across when you go from like one screen to the next. Looks great. The menus look great. The UI is amazing. Huge fan of everything going on here, as well as the sound. You mentioned the sound was great. I love a lot of the kind of just not ASMR, but like just like the clicky sounds of moving the cards and placing them, and then the different noises each kind of card makes when it's placed. Sounds great, but the music was really an all-star here. I felt like
Yeah.
I was walking into Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
Yeah, at Disney or something like that. And I'm just like, oh, I can't wait to go on the safari ride or whatever. It just kind of had that beautiful, like almost like South African sound to it, right? It just like a lot of that kind of, and even some vocals coming in here and there where you're just like, it's not just instruments. There's vocals too, which is cool. And it just added to the relaxing experience, to be honest, because
Yeah.
you could play this without sound. And I think it'd be totally fine, very relaxing, but it was just the whole package here, right? I just really enjoyed the vibe I was getting, sitting there, listening to the music. I wasn't annoyed at all. And as well as the sound effects here, I was very impressed overall with all things aesthetically with this game.
Totally agree. Like the sound, like everything from the clicky sounds that you have in the game, to yeah, the music. Actually, like earlier when I was playing, I don't know if it's just on the Savannah level, but there is like a track on there where I was just like, I felt like I was like watching like Lion King, or like this
Yeah.
was like a professionally produced track, and it was just great. Like it just gets you. It gave me like that stank face. I was just like, "Ooh, like this is this is nice." Like this is surprising, to be honest. But yes, very calming as well. Adds to that whole experience. And yeah, just enjoyed it. You place the animals down; they've got their unique sounds as well. And even like you're hearing the rivers, all that sort of stuff. Like you're getting all that kind of feedback from the game. From a sound standpoint, which is really great. Then even like raining on things, all that sort of stuff. They got all the little details there, right? With the sound. And yeah, the music takes it to another level. So actually kind of interested in looking up, this would be great background music when you're working, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or anything really. So kind of interested to see if they got anything on Spotify. I know it's still early access, so they might not have that stuff up yet, but
They don't. I
yeah, just
looked.
oh, you looked.
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
yeah,
Yeah. Hopefully when the game fully comes out, then they'll be publishing some of that. But yeah, killer job with the music for this one.
yeah. And performance-wise, I didn't run into anything. It ran pretty smoothly on my end. Uh, it doesn't. I would maybe like in the large levels, like it could get a little choppy, but I didn't see any of that happen. What about you?
Yeah, same here. No issues on my end at all, which is great for early access. Yeah, only the only thing to note, something I mentioned at the top, is that I found it just a lot easier to play with mouse and keyboard versus controller, but it still works well with controller, which is also great too because the game only came out on Steam, right? So they don't need to do controller support for a game like this. So it's great that they give you that option. But yeah, no performance issues for me at all, really.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
gonna bring us to the rating. Our rating system is as follows. We have our best games ever, certified fresh juice. These are our Ballatros of the world. A steal. This is something like Pepper Grinder was a good steal. We have after that get on sale games that maybe like aren't quite up to par yet, but if you grab them on sale, could be a nice thing. I know that Matt certainly thought that Dungeons of Hinterberg was one of those games, and um, I'm just
And he
looking at
was wrong.
no, no. Okay, maybe Hellskate. Hellskate was a good example of a get on sale.
Yeah.
And then we have after that a manager special. These don't come around a lot, but these are very specific to genres, maybe, or but need a lot of work. Maybe if it's like a deep discount. Um, what's a good example of that? Grand Soul Story was a good
Yeah.
manager special, and then Spoiled Milk, which is a game that we wouldn't recommend to anyone. I don't think we've ever had a double spoiled milk in the show, but
No, we haven't.
I called Dungeon Minesweeper spoiled milk, and you called Oh Dear spoiled milk. So,
Oh dear.
oh dear, oh dear. So, Matthew, do you want to go first on this?
You know what? You go first. I feel like I've been going first. And if you say spoiled milk, I'm just gonna say spoiled milk just so we get it out of the way.
No.
So there we go.
Well, I could tell you what, preserve is not spilled milk. In fact, it's quite the opposite in my mind. This is a certified fresh juice. I think it's probably one of the easier ones that I've come across. You know, kept looking for something to not like the whole time I played it and only found more stuff that I liked. And the thing that I love about this game, right? It's not super complex. There is depth to it. And in reality, you look at a game like this could have been made any year between now and maybe 2000, maybe with worse graphics, but this game could have been made at any point in time. Right? There's
Yep.
nothing about this game that screams this required modern minds, modern technology. No, this is not that. This is just the pure creative minds kind of coming together to create something so simple, so elegant, yet so deep and so beautiful that it just is super impressive. Really love Preserve. This is a game I will be booting up anytime I have some downtime, maybe need to relax, not looking to, be sweaty playing Flesh and Blood or anything like that, or Slay the Spire 2 when that comes out. This is the perfect reprieve of a game where you can still get rewarded for being, thinking two steps ahead, but also just kind of relaxing and enjoying some pretty sights as well. So certified fresh juice for me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm giving this a certified fresh juice, and it's something that surprised me, right? Like you mentioned, trying to figure out something that was like wrong with the game, right? Especially with it being early access, you would think there'd be some like glaring issues. And especially as someone, I don't really play these kind of games that often, right? I like my cozy game here and there, but usually it's not like a cozy puzzle game. So this one in particular just surprised me in that way. Also, I think it just has a great name too. I know, like, feel like we don't talk about the names too much, but like Preserve, like what a just a great name for like the objective of the game, easy to like share with people. You're not having to say like Dungeons of Hinterberg. People are like what? Whatever, whatever it is. Not hating on Dungeons of Hinterberg. It was a good experience. But yeah, it just Preserve really surprised me, and probably overall the reason I would recommend this game is because even if you don't want to go too in depth with it, right? Like you can still get through the levels without doing everything perfectly. You can just boot it up. Like that's basically how I played it the first time I played it. Was I just kind of just went through like, kind of knowing what I was doing, but I didn't really like think about it too much. And then the second time I played, I was like, all right, let me try to like really focus on these sort of things in the game, all the synergies and everything. It's cool that you can kind of play it in two different ways. So it can satisfy that cozy, relaxing feel, and then also that that itch you might have of like trying to figure out a certain puzzle. It does both things really well, and excited to see where it goes from here. Early access wise, and lastly, it's a great price, right? I mean, you can get it right now for $10 and normally it's 12.49. I mean, like that is a great price for a game with this much depth. So, yeah, just hats off to the devs, a double certified fresh juice.
They don't happen often, folks, but when they do, these games end up, kind of finding a really beautiful space in our heart. A nice
Yeah.
little place to preserve I don't know. And I agree with you on the name. I mean, it reminds me of Thrive, that one game that, we played a little bit of that should be coming
Yeah.
out maybe in a year or so, which is pretty cool. Well, what's next week? Do we know?
So next week we will be playing oh boy, what is it called? We will be playing Just Crow Things next week. So be on the lookout for that.
Ooh.
That's gonna be a silly one. Excited to talk about it.
Can't wait to get a little silly. We do have some listener questions, though. These are submitted by listeners in the Fresh Juice Discord. Great place to hang out, submit questions, come over to the podcast, check out how we answer those questions. Very cool. Very cool. First
Yeah.
question, Capolo, number one question bot in the whole the whole Discord, gave us a banger. Not now, Capolo, forgive us if we don't know what you're talking about here. Who's going to be your favorite superhero if they were a dinosaur? Now, I'm going to interpret that as if superheroes were dinosaurs. If superheroes are dinosaurs, which superhero would be the coolest? I'm going to say that. Like, I'm thinking of, you know, Power Rangers being dinosaurs. Like, which one was the coolest? Yada, yada, yada. And like, maybe the Hulk becomes some kind of dinosaur. I think is where I'm interpreting this question, and my answer is Batman always, right? Batman as like a pterodactyl type kind of thing, but like more like a giant vampire bat, like from Indiana Jones Temple of Doom, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, but like closer to a pterodactyl to make sense with the question, Matt.
Yeah. That's a good one. This is a tough one. I've been thinking about this for a few years now. And no, this is tough. Because I was thinking, obviously, like Spider-Man, number one for me. But I'm like, what dinosaur? What would he like? A giant spider dinosaur thing? Like, does that even exist? I don't even know. Um, so I think it could be cool to maybe have oh man, this is a tough one. I was thinking like Silver Surfer, like as
Hmm.
one of those dinosaurs that's like in the ocean, but it's like all silver, and like
Okay.
it can like change form or something. I don't know how crazy we're gonna get with it. Because I was also thinking for this question, like which dinosaur would be an awesome superhero,
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah.
but I
That
don't
might
think
make more
that's what he
sense, to
was
be
I
honest.
I don't think that's what he was asking though, but, um, as for that, I mean, like, a Stegosaurus would be pretty cool
Pretty cool. A
as
tank,
a
a
s
tank character,
yeah,
right? Mm.
yeah, yeah, something like that could be cool, I guess. Yeah,
Velociraptors, very, very classic dinosaur, super fast. Dangerous to be cool superhero.
yeah.
I was a big dinosaur kid when I was growing up. I used to have a bunch of little dinosaur action figures. I would just line them up on my floor. I don't know if that was telling my parents anything about maybe my cognitive abilities. I'm really good at lining things up, folks, and naming dinosaurs. So, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, dinosaurs pretty sweet. Thank you for the question,
What's your
Capolo.
what's your favorite dinosaur?
Oh, my favorite.
Yeah,
That's I think Triceratops, right?
yeah.
I kind of
That's I was obsessed with that as a kid, the Triceratops.
yeah, yeah. It kind of bummed me
Yeah.
out in Jurassic Park when the one was sick and also pooped like a lot, right? And Jeff Goldblum because his ass one big pile of shit. Classic line.
Yep.
But yeah, Triceratops pretty sick dinosaur. I also kind of like the one that kills Newman in Jurassic Park with
Okay.
the I
Yeah.
forget the name of that one. Yeah,
Yeah. Whatever it
um
is. Spitter.
Jurassic Park, first of all, excellent film. That's a great motion picture right there. Um,
Yeah.
all the sequels, some of them are better than others. I like the second one a lot with the Jeff Goldblum like focused one. That was pretty sick. But
Yeah.
thank you for the question, Capolo. Always happy to talk dinosaurs. K-More asks, a lot of games about being an animal have been made in the last few years. Funny that this question comes up when we're playing Preserve. What kind of animal would you like to play as, and what kind of game would it be?
This is a cool question, and I think I'm gonna go with uh, I don't know, lanternfish, whatever is like in the abyss,
Oh
whatever that thing
wow.
is called, with like the lantern. It's got like the big teeth. That would be cool to play as, maybe like playing through the abyss. Maybe it would be kind of like an open world sort of game where you're just kind of exploring the abyss, like see what's down there. I think it would be cool if it had a sort of like a mythological sort of feel to it, where maybe there were things down there that we have, that are myths up on the surface, but we learn about them down there. But I just think it would be, I don't know, I just like the visual, I guess, of like playing in the abyss as one of those like lantern fish things. Um, so yeah, not too many details on the game itself,
Open world
but the
makes sense.
gameplay, yeah, the gameplay would be you playing as that in the abyss.
It would
So
also make a great like open world horror game. I feel like.
yeah. Oh yeah. See, you're good with like actually putting these ideas to like genres of games.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it'd be a game. You're like playing the character, you're walking around.
Listen, I'm an idea guy. Come to me, devs. I'll give you an idea that will
Yeah.
maybe. Listen, I don't take responsibility for whether the game's good or not.
If it's great, it was your idea. If it's
Yeah.
not, you had nothing to do with it.
If it's not, what are
Why'd
you
you listen
doing
to me?
asking
Yeah.
me? Like, what's wrong with you? Um, my game, well, my animal would be an otter, right? We're both going water levels here. Notoriously,
Cool.
the worst levels, water levels, right? You
Yeah.
know, Sonic, Mario. I mean,
Water temple.
yeah. It'd actually be funny if I was like, if I could be any animal, it would be a hedgehog, and it would run real fast and be blue. It'd make friends with a fox and an echidna.
Yeah.
Two normal things, and then an echidna. No, what's the echidna do? It punches. That's what it does.
And glide.
It glides and punches. No, an otter, and it would be like a Mario Kart racing game where you're racing other otters in like really elaborate like rivers and estuaries and stuff like that. That'd be sick. That'd be
That
so
would be
cool.
cool. Yeah.
And then you can
Otter
like,
racing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Grand Theft Otter. Oh my god.
Oh my god, that's perfect.
That would be sick. Uh, you gotta chase. You get chased from the otter police. It'd be kind of
Yeah,
cool. It'd be
it
kind of
would be.
cool. Thanks for the question, K Moore. This question comes from MF98170. Motherfucker 98170. Universal or Disney, referring to the parks.
Yeah, so, I mean, I haven't been to either in years, but Universal did just announce some pretty cool stuff. Um, I'll probably go with Universal. It's mainly, I mean, like, Disney's cool, but I'm also, like, not a Disney adult, so I don't find it, like, that exciting as some other people. I haven't been in a while, like I said, so like yeah, it would be cool to go back to Disney and see all the new stuff, Star Wars, and like I know they just announced Monsters Inc. Land too, which would be kind of cool to go to. But I always felt like I had just a better time at Universal. Harry Potter World's cool, and just I don't know, it just kind of felt a little bit more my speed. So I'll just go with Universal. But I mean, I like both parks overall, but I'll go with Universal.
It's a fair answer because I'm going to answer that as well. I'm not a Disney lover. If anything, I could be categorized as somewhat of a Disney hater. And
Oh,
there's some IPs out there that I do love from my childhood, but I will say Disney, as of late in the past maybe 15 years, has destroyed the media and and filmmaking in general. But that's a different conversation. Right?
yeah.
It's the death of art. Now, but Universal, they have a whole section in Universal dedicated to the comic strips, which is
Okay.
pretty lit, to be honest. Right? You could just hang out with like all the cool characters from the funny papers, the funny pages, which is was always my favorite. When people still got newspapers, I didn't Sunday morning didn't care. I would be eating my everything bagel toasted with butter because I was like a toasted with butter guy when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I've graduated into the
Hey, I still like toasted with butter. All
yeah.
right.
I'm not.
It's good.
Listen, it's still
Yeah.
good. I'm cream cheesing it a lot more these days. But sit there, toasted everything bagel with butter. Let me grab that newspaper. I don't care about the sports. I don't care about anything else. Show me the comics. Reading the comics. Let's see if there's any funny ones. Never really got the Dilbert ones, obviously. I was a child. Turns out that guy's a piece of shit anyway. But Heathcliff used to go pretty insane. Peanuts, obviously. So any place that I can go hang like and in some themed areas with those cool characters, I'm in. So
Yeah.
thank you for the question. Next question comes from Arcarp. Kiss, marry, kill. Mario, Luigi, and Wario.
Okay, I am going to kiss Luigi. Okay,
Okay.
because he's more my height. I just feel like it would be easier. And also I just feel like he needs a little love, after all these years. He doesn't get a lot of love. I'm gonna marry Wario.
Okay.
Okay. And the
Alright.
reason for that is 'cause I feel like whoever's with Mario just gets kidnapped all the time. So I don't want to be married to Mario. And then I'll kill Mario. He's had plenty of time on the spotlight. I just think it's okay if he goes away, and we just got Luigi and Wario left. So that's what I'm gonna do.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
There's not that many deviations of what I could have, but I do have a different deviation here. For
Okay.
me, it's obviously kill Luigi. And this is coming from a
Okay.
Luigi fan. I want to put him out of his misery, right?
All right.
Let's see.
That's another good point though, too. Because I was kissing him because of his misery, and you want to put him out. We're both putting him out of his misery, just in different
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, unless he is miserable kissing me, that's a
that could be.
possibility.
That could be.
Yeah.
I'm killing Luigi. First of all, you get to go hang out in your mansion all the time. Now you're a ghost. Boom.
True.
Solve that. Mario. I guess I'm gonna kill. No, I already killed Luigi.
I'm gonna kill them all.
I'm gonna marry Mario,
Okay.
and just because he seems to be not too problematic, right? You always know where he's at. Sure. Do I have to worry about him a little bit with Princess Peach? I don't think so, because she's playing very hard to get these days. She has her own games, doesn't even need Mario, so he's all mine. And then I'll kiss Wario. And that is an interesting thing to do in and of itself because he is a dastardly kind of guy. But I do think he has a warm spot. And those warm spots are his lips. So we're going to just lay him on there. So, yeah, I'm going to kiss Wario. Thank you for the question, Arcarp. Always a wonderful, wonderful time.
We're gonna fuck Waluigi. That's what we're
Well, yeah, I mean, that was a given. Holy man, he's got legs coming down from Canada. He's so tall. Holy smokes. Anyway, that's going to bring us to the rec room where we recommend something that perhaps is not an indie game. And then we're going to say our goodbyes. What do you have to recommend this week, Matthew?
So I am recommending this cookie mix that you can buy at Trader Joe's, but basically I'm recommending a type of cookie. It's
Okay.
called Everything But the Kitchen Sink Cookie. You might hear it also known as the Kitchen Sink Cookie. I believe Panera has one as well. It's like a type of cookie, but the ingredients in the cookie usually differ. So sometimes you might have a little fruit in there. Sometimes you have some chips in there. It's kind of always like a little medley of things. So the one from Trader Joe's specifically, this mix is semi-sweet chocolate chunks, walnuts, oats, pretzels, caramel bits, coconut, and sea salt.
Whoa.
And it's all kind of mixed together. It's a busy cookie, but it is such a great balance of the salty sweet. And we made some the other day. Actually, while I was making them, I snapped like this wooden handle of while I was mixing it. So I was unsure if there would be pieces of wood in any of the cookies that I ate, but it also would be kind of hard to tell because there's a lot going on in there. So
True.
I made it through. But yeah, they're just delicious. And really, the Panera ones are great too. I think they might have a little bit of different ingredients in there. Sometimes you got potato chips in there, fruit, whatever it might be. Um, and they're always delicious. So yeah, I'm going with the everything but the kitchen sink cookie, folks. Go try one.
Very interesting. Very interesting. It's something I would eat. It's not something I would, I think, run out for. But if it was,
Well then,
I'm just saying, I'm a chocolate chip guy. Like, give me a
okay,
chocolate chip, I'm very happy. An oatmeal
yeah,
cookie, awesome. Sugar,
yeah.
I'll sugar cookie, snickerdoodles. Holy,
Oh yeah.
I do love cookies. I do
I do
also
too.
love donut holes, and
Oh,
we did get those donut holes that you were talking about a couple episodes ago, and
yeah.
Capolo, they're donut holes. I hate to say it, buddy, but they are very good. They're like soaked like to the center with like
Yeah.
icing. I mean, they're.
Yeah.
I could feel my arteries clogging when I was eating them, but they are. I was like, holy shit, these things are intense, but they're
Yeah,
very
they are.
good.
Oh, yeah.
The Amish know what's up, so those are very good. I have two rec rooms. One's a little mini one. There is a demo for a game. Maybe we'll review it at some point. We're gonna probably reach out to them. A game called He Is Coming. Great name, first of all. Very good name. Love the name. It's like a little roguelike
What?
auto battler.
No, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. Just a very good name, love the name.
I went Trump for a second. I know.
Yeah, yeah, that's gonna didn't wanna bring up politics, but you did. It was perfect. The cadence was absolutely there.
It's a cute little roguelike auto battler with a decent amount of content in the demo that you can kind of explore, and they're still updating it. I think it's a one person team, so kind of cool, nice little retro pixel graphics. I'm enjoying it. It's just like a nice little time killer. Check that out. The demo's free, so if you're looking for something a little roguelikey auto battler esque thing, check that out. And then so I want to recommend a another roguelike deck builder, right? You know me. When it's got the deck building in it, I'm going crazy. So I believe a while ago we covered a bundle with Baltro in this game. It's Wild Frost, which came out about a year ago, full release. It is a like deck builder roguelike, has some Slay the Spire elements, but more has some like unit placement and some kind of auto battle kind of things going on. Some of it even reminds me of Throne of Bone in a way,
Hmm.
but more interactive than Throne of Bone. Like Throne of Bone's like strictly auto battler. This is a card game, like where you're playing things and you have to make strategic decisions every turn. It is a so initially when this game came out, it had like a 67% on not Rotten Tomatoes, on Steam. And people couldn't really figure out why, because it's a good game, and then you realize like, oh, people just aren't reading the directions, because it is. I think you go into it and you're thinking it's going to be Slay the Spire, and it's just not. Slay the
Hmm.
Spire is a great game, and the only thing is it is straightforward, like of what you're supposed to do. This has a lot of moving pieces, and the UI has a lot going on, but the game looks incredible. It sounds incredible. The soundtrack's incredible. And the gameplay, once it clicks, you're like, I keep wanting to play this. And the coolest thing about this, I mean, there's a lot of cool things. You go through your progression, right? You go out, you have your hero and your companions, and you're going, you're playing cards, yada yada yada. You're going through, you're going to shops, you're finding new cards, you're finding new companions, you're finding these charms that will upgrade your cards and stuff like that. Normal card game stuff. You get to the end, you're like, okay, I beat the boss. And then you're like, oh, let me play again. Let me see if I can, play with like a different strategy this time. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going through, and the one I won, I had found a card that to me was like overpowered. I was like, I am winning everything, right? This is like so good. And I found it again. I'm like, oh, now I'm just going to win again. And I'm going through, and I get to the final boss. The final boss is my team that won the last time. And that one
cool.
was better than this current team. And I was like, and my current team was not teched to beat my old team. And I just got like smoked. I was like, oh,
wow.
And I realized that when you go and you play again, whoever had won the last time, there's like a little telescope icon in the bottom. You can click on it. You see who the bosses are.
Oh, okay.
And you're just like, oh man, like who the final boss is. It's like, oh, that was my team from last time. I got to prepare, like think about what was I good at that time. Super cool.
Yeah.
And then, there's obviously some other cool roguelike stuff. You have like your shops and your towns and stuff like that, and your meta progression. Very cool stuff. So I recommend it. There's a free version on mobile that you can play for like the first couple rounds, and then it'll say, do you want to buy the full game, yada yada yada. And then it's also on Steam and Switch, I believe. So I recommend it. I really do. If you're willing to like sit down and be like, I'm going to figure out how this game works. Once I do, and you got to just read the directions. The first time I played it, I was like, this game's so hard, I don't even know if I want to play it. And I was like, I didn't read any of the blurbs that came up. Why would I know how to do any of this? So yeah. Wild
That's
Frost.
cool.
Wild Frost.
Were you playing on mobile or are you Steam?
I played the free version on mobile a little bit, and then I liked it enough, and then I got the Steam version, and then that's when I beat it first, and then I kept playing on the mobile version. So I'm playing on both. That's how much I'm liking it, right? One for when you're chilling on the couch, one for when you're on the toilet,
Yeah. And there's no like cross progression. It's like two separate accounts.
Yeah, no, but I was playing on my laptop and on my desktop. That had cross because it was cloud-based Steam. So, there's no real benefit for me to play it on the phone as well, but I just have it on the phone. So I was just like, oh, maybe I'll just hop in for a quick run. Very cool.
Oh, sorry. Just one more question, because you did mention it's like there's a lot going on, with like the UI. So they were able to translate that to like the mobile version, and like it's pretty easy to get through, or do you still find some challenges with it?
No, it's once you understand the UI, you're like, okay, because the difference between this game and other card game roguelikes that I played is instead of like having resources because you're placing dudes out onto the field, every card you play, rather than it costing a resource, it counts as a turn, and each unit has like a counter telling you how many turns it has till it attacks or does its effect. So you're playing something and everything ticks down. So you got to pay attention to your units and the monsters that you're playing units. So that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Once you understand that, you're like, oh, okay. All right. So we're going to
So yeah, you're playing like a few moves ahead. It's like chess almost.
Yeah.
In that way. Oh, interesting. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'll have to check this out. Might give the mobile version a shot.
Yeah. I'll send you some you could just watch. I think Northern Lion played it. So you can,
okay.
Yeah, if you watch him try to figure it out, it's at least funny. So
yeah. Cool.
But that's gonna do for the show, folks. Fresh juice, another banger. Preserve of certified fresh juice next week. Just crow things? We don't know. You'll have to tune in and find out. You can continue to find me on Twitter at FreshBudsPod. I am still Tommy Fresh. I have another podcast called Fresh and Buds. Last week had Brian Gottlieb on, who is the lead designer, head developer of Flesh and Blood. Great episode. Brian is a very, very intelligent person and was very candid with me about some mistakes that they have owned up to in some development that they're working on, right? So didn't have to be as open as he did, and he was awesome for that. So check that out. You can continue to find all of our stuff on Fresh Juice Pod on all socials. Matt, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Matty Gorm, Gorm, on all the socials. I'm probably most active on YouTube and Twitch. I've been doing some Once Human content, of course, which is a big survival MMO. Actually, technically indie game as well, which is pretty cool. And yeah, I've been publishing a lot of good YouTube content on there about some updates that they're making, as well as some stuff that's coming in the next season, which they have a very interesting kind of format for seasons that I've never personally seen in games before, where basically every server is on its own timeline of the season. So some servers will get a season sooner than others because people started later. So it's kind of interesting. Usually in games, yeah, the whole season is with the entire community, with the entire game. So it's kind of interesting how that's working out. So yeah, we've just been having some good discussions about that over on YouTube. So feel free to check me out at Matty Gorm and pop into a stream and say what's up.
It's the best place to be, folks. Go check it out. This has been another great episode. Fresh.
Bud, no juice.
Out.